Tutorial on how I braid my hair, since I've had a couple people ask me. First, the braiding hair I use is free tress braid, beach curl 12 inches long in color 30 because that matches my dyed hair. Also, I always have like a shirt to stop the wetness from getting on me, and like a shirt I don't care about. So I just got out of the shower, shampoo, conditioner, whatever, and I put some products in my hair. I put this like cream that I use for preventing dandruff on my scalp. I use this Olaplex No. 6 Bond Smoother. It helps with like keeping my hair moisturized since I have dyed hair. I also use like a water-based leave-in conditioner. This one's Maui Moisture. So all that is already in my hair, which like I put it in while it was damp in the shower. So for parting, I part from ear to ear upwards like this to divide the front and the back. And it starts looking very messy, but I use that as a rough estimate, and then I just like clean it up with a rat tail comb. I also have a 3-way mirror, and I use that to help me part. Also, my parts are literally never clean, especially in the back. I only really care about how clean the front looks because it will get covered up by braids and the curls anyway. This is how it's looking. Okay, for the back. Now I part ear to ear, except backwards like that. It depends on how many parts you want. If I wanted my hair to look perfect every time I did it, I'd probably make them smaller, but during the school year I end up just doing like 5 rows in the back, which gives me pretty big braids, but I don't really care. And I make 2 bottom rows here and then 3 up here. If you want them to be even, obviously that's not gonna work, but I sort of like finesse it by having the bigger braids on the bottom that will be covered and then smaller braids at the top. And then I just clean it up. Now that I have that, I just make this part in half into 2 rows. And then I'll like take the row I'm not working on, wrap it around the bun. I'm gonna part this into 3 sections this week, but sometimes I'll do 4 or 3, but I feel like 3. For the rest of this, I'm not really gonna get into like the parting for everything. Just do 5 rows, and then I'll alternate it. So I'll do even amount of parts on one section, odd, even, odd, even, odd. And once I have the sections, I'll like put them into little braids. I like to part my whole head before braiding because it just makes it easy so I can like watch a movie without like paying attention to having to part my hair. So once I have the parts, I'll just put into like a little braid that I start, and then I don't finish it because it doesn't have to be clean. And then I'll move on to the next row. If I have 3 strands that I can braid, I'll braid it. Let's say I have a row with 5. I'll braid 3 of them and then twist 2 of them. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, back is done and this is how it looks. Now I undo the front, which I'm aware the bun looks very thin. Now I'll clean up my middle part. An important thing to remember while braiding is like it literally doesn't matter. Like you'll hyperfixate on the same part for like 20 minutes, but over time, doing this so many times, you care today and then you really don't care for the rest of the week. Like you won't even be paying attention. Now that we have that, you basically have to part the front according to your head shape. For me, I like to, because the way my hairline is shaped, I make a part right there and then I split this into 2 sections, and then I'll do like 3 sections here, 2, 3 for rows. I usually put the section in a bun, so I just made the 2 parts that I was talking about. I'll wrap this here, put this on that side, and then part. And I want this to be 2 braids, so I'll cut it in half, then I'll just twist it. And then when I get back to this, I'll undo the twist and actually do braids. So the whole head is parted and I look crazy. For the hair, it comes in several little chunks, and I'll just take one of the chunks and I coat it in some foam. This is Lotta Body. And I divide it. Depending on how thick I want the hair to be, usually I'll divide it into 2 chunks, maybe 3. And then I'll put extra foam on the separate pieces. The hair will shed, but that's okay. And then I'll part all the hair, not the whole pack. I usually use like half a pack. I put it on my braiding rack, but I'm gonna do that later. For the actual braid, you wanna make sure your hair is damp, and then I put on some like oil-based, like thick leave-in conditioner to seal in the moisture. And yeah, I'll just make sure I get at the root and throughout the strand. I don't like to use gel on my roots personally because it's not good for me, but use it if you need it. I divide it into 3 sections. There, doesn't have to be sideways, I'm just doing it like that. And then you get the curl and you place it on top of 2 strands. Like this. And you just braid it. And I braid it down a little bit. And then I take the curl, hold it out, and then continue the braid. Once I get down here, I'll usually leave another curl when I'm in the back, but in the front I only leave 1 curl.